I was hoping to give a little bit of an introduction around the topic that I was sharing with all of you, which is beyond Agile and the challenges of Agile. Then I was hoping to ask each of you to give yourself a quick round of introductions. And maybe we combine it with different people sharing a 1-minute reflection on where you think Agile currently is. Based on that, I hope to identify what I think some common themes will be across the people that will be sharing their thoughts on this. And based on the identification of some common themes, my hope is that we can dive into a discussion, and then we can dive into a retrospective and next steps. Because to be honest, I think this topic is a little bit too complicated and too complex to actually solve in a one-hour session. So I think we're going to need a little bit more time for this. And either you or other people, I will hope to invite to some subsequent sessions as well, with the intent of getting this a little bit further on the map. So my proposal was I share a few slides, and then we go to a round of introductions and we start to look into the Agile discussion. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
I see a lot of thumbs up, so that's a good thing. So I wanted to start with this. This is a slide that we use a lot in Software Center, which is what is the essence of digitalization? Well, for me, the essence of digitalization is the transition that we see from systems on the left, which is I buy a product from a company. I see someone from AB Volvo just joining. So I buy a truck, and that trucks get a little bit worse every day I use it, until that truck is such an old crappy piece of junk that I replace it with the next truck. And the next truck is maybe a little bit better than the previous one, but it still gets a little worse every day I use it. What we see happen in digitalization is something that happens on the right side. The day you get the product, it is the best you can build it as a company providing the product, but it is also the worst it will be throughout the entire rest of its economic life. And from that point on, it will get better every day a little bit by deploying new software, deploying new machine learning models, maybe periodically upgrading the electronics in the vehicle or in the product, and maybe even occasionally replacing mechanics. But the idea basically is, from a user's perspective, every day I use the product, it gets a little bit better. That's what has happened over the most recent years. Of course, if you are in the SaaS world, that we've seen for a long time, but in the embedded systems world, this is now really becoming a reality. Here is the thing that I worry about, and what I believe led to some of the questions that I had around Agile. Traditionally, if you would get a requirement specification and you would specify it, and you would give it to an R&D organization, you would build what it said in the spec. The assumption was that we would be delivering value to customers. And what I think the big elephant in the room is that this is an incorrect assumption. If you ask me, and if you look at old studies, but also if you look at our own research, basically of all the work that gets done in a typical R&D organization, somewhere between half and 2/3 of all the features in a typical system are waste. They shouldn't have been built in the first place because there is not enough traction there. We, a few years ago, did a study in the Gothenburg region with a company that wanted to stay anonymous after they saw the results. This is on the x-axis, you have a whole bunch of different features in the system. On the y-axis, you have the number of times this feature is actually used, and we see exactly the same pattern. Some features are used all the time, some features are used occasionally, many features are never used. So that's what we think is part of the problem. The second part of the problem, so what I'm basically saying, half of your R&D budget is wasted, you just don't know which half. The second half of this equation is the 3-layer product model that some of you may have seen if you spent some time in the Software Center context, but basically we classify the functionality in products and platforms and in other systems as there is a layer of commodity functionality, there's a layer of differentiating functionality, and there's a layer of innovative and experimental functionality. And I've now asked well over 50 companies, what percentage of R&D goes to commodity stuff that you need for your system to work, but not something that will drive differentiation for your customer? And what percentage of R&D goes to differentiating, experimental, and innovative functionality? And the answer we're getting is that somewhere between 80, say 70 to 90% of all R&D effort in a typical organization goes to functionality that customers don't give a flying hoot about. It should just work. Yeah, the car should have 4 wheels. My mobile phone I should be able to make calls with, but I'm not going to pick the car or the mobile phone because of that capability. Yeah, so what I am currently seeing, and I'm starting to wrap up, it's a few more slides, as I can assess the current state of R&D in most companies, and I include product management in it R&D, is that 7 to 9 people out of every 10 in R&D work on things no customer cares about. It's not differentiating, it should just work. And the 1 or 2 that build new functionality get it wrong half the time. Sorry, I had a typo there. It should say half the time, HLALF. And many people are okay with it because they focus on the cost of R&D teams. And this is one of the other things that I see many companies struggle with. If I have a company that allocates 5% of its revenue to R&D, yeah, which is a little high for a company like AB Volvo, which I think is at 3.5%. It's a little low for a pure software company that tends to be more in the 15 to 20% range. But the question is, if you 5% of your revenue goes to R&D, how much revenue should every euro invested in R&D create? And the answer is 20 euros, because 5% fits 20 times in 100. And that means that every euro that goes into R&D has to create 20 euros of value. And this is where I see many companies struggle really, really bad. So you saw this on the LinkedIn post that maybe triggered you, and otherwise you saw it in the newsletter that I sent out. But basically what I believe is that we need to move towards the new paradigm. You know, the 2 columns on the left on your screen is traditional Agile, from process and tools to individuals and interactions. And I believe that the next paradigm needs to look much more into architecture and decoupling teams. It's not that we are not talking to each other, it's that we spend too much time talking to each other and we use too much process for coordination and too little architecture for coordination. From comprehensive documentation to working software to operational software that is tracked in real time, we can actually see and observe and measure in real time that the software is actually working. That's the whole data side to this. From contract negotiation, which Hannah knows everything about because that's how SAP works these days, to customer collaboration, to predicting stakeholder needs. We need to be able to identify what customers want before they're even able to express it. And from following a plan to responding to change, to becoming much more proactive around hypotheses and experimentation, that I think is important here. So what I believe is we need to shift from a focus on how are we building software to focusing on what are we building and why are we building it? From a focus on efficiency, how do we crank out as many features per time unit as humanly possible, to a focus on effectiveness, how do we maximize the amount of value that gets created in our R&D, from talking about value, yeah, what is valuable to you, dear customer, to actually measuring value, what gets used, reacting to change, which is very much the Agile paradigm, you know, things happen and I respond, to proactively engaging with markets, customers and ecosystems. And then finally, listening to what customers say they want to measuring what customers actually do in practice. So that was a little bit of, okay, I'm going to skip this and stop sharing my screen because I didn't update these slides. But this is where I am today. Everyone looks shocked or unhappy, I'm not sure. But that's where I thought we would start as a starting point for discussion. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah. What I was hoping to do is to basically go through the list of people in this call based on what I have on my screen, ask you to do a quick round of introduction and share 1 or 2 thoughts about why you came to this meeting and what you think sucks about Agile or what you would like to see fixed about Agile. And pardon my French. Sorry for the American speakers. And the person that is on the top of my list is actually David. I'm not sure who is David in this case.
David, that's me.
That would be you. So David,
Yeah, that's
you
me.
introduce yourself and share your thoughts about Agile.
Okay. Yeah, so my name's David Rutter. I work at a company called Wireless Car in Gothenburg, a spin-off from maybe Volvo originally. So we are in the telematics space for cars. It's all those funky new features you get with your car, emergency breakdown call, what else? Remote door unlock, remote heating, all that sort of stuff. That's what we do for Volvo and Volkswagen and a few other car manufacturers. Yeah, about me, I've been in IT a long time, 25 to 30 years now, working in different paradigms and different roles. I'm currently working in the way of working team at Wireless Car, so that's a good reason to be in a call like this. Last couple of years, I was focused on the DevOps adoption at Wireless Car as well. So that's also a good source of knowledge when we're talking about the Agile paradigm. At Wireless Car, I'd say that if we were talking about the scale of Agile adoption, I'd say we're pretty good. I'd say that the challenge that we have is more in the way we work with our customers. Because quite often our customers tell us what they want, and we do it. We might warn them that that's maybe not what you really want, but we would normally do the work for them. A good example of that is the Land Rover. They wanted this function where it would remember the seat, the seat settings for all the different seats, and you could tell your phone like, I want those seat settings now. They thought that was a great feature. We could see that it wasn't being used years later. So anyway, so back to Agile. That's our challenge.
So you have 60 seconds. So sorry for interrupting you, David, but keep it
60
short.
seconds.
Because
I think
70 people in the call.
I think that's our major challenge. But I think one of the things that we're good at, and this is where I think a lot of focus should be, is on teams, psychological safety, trust, collaboration. That's where our focus goes on, not on, are you having a stand up every day? Are you doing a demo every 2 weeks? That's what our focus goes on.
Okay. Thank you very much, David. Next one on my list is our Dutch person, Willem Kaal.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Willem. I work with BD, and we are, at least the division that I am working for, is in the laboratory automation. I'm working here as a Scrum Master / Agile coach for one of the software teams here. And we work with Scaled Agile Framework, SAFe. We have about 7 teams working here. From software to hardware development as well. I think that currently our organization is somewhere between the traditional and the agile framework. We're moving into agile, at least we try, and it's quite a challenge to do that. We are traditionally a real project-oriented organization. We have, since we're in the medical business, we also have the challenges with compliance and stuff like that. And we don't have control over the systems that we have because we sell our systems to our customers. Right. So currently we're not capable of measuring that well how our systems are doing in the field, actually.
Right.
So the reason that I'm here is first, for myself, actually, because I'm curious. I'm an agile enthusiast, and I would like to know what is coming ahead of us, actually. And I see around me that a lot of Scrum Masters get fired, get replaced by product owners who do combined roles and stuff like that. So that world is also changing. So I'm out of curiosity about the future. That's why I'm here.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Willem.
Thank you.
Next person is Hannah. on my list. It keeps changing, but I thought we would give Hannah a chance from Saab.
Hi, so thank you. My name is Hannah Svantesson, and I work at Saab. Currently, I'm in the US, working at our US branch here. But I'm originally from Gothenburg and will return later this year. Mainly within the radar industry. I'm here only for personal reasons. I want to get more inspiration and understand how we as a company can be more flexible and continuously deliver values. Jan and Helena will know that I've been struggling with this for many years. It's hard. We have a very traditional setup with contract negotiations, hard specs that cannot change. For natural reasons, our customers need to know what they have, what kind of capabilities they have, because they will dimension accordingly. But still, I mean, AI is coming. We need to understand how to leverage that enormous power and how to implement it in the products.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Anders Magnusson.
Yes, I am this one that you mentioned from the Volvo truck industry. I work as an architect here, and I have 2 experiences from things when it comes to agility, really. It was in the beginning of the 90s, and this was interesting to see that Hannah was here before, because I was working at that time Ericsson Microwave, where we introduced, we call it an evolution, an iterative way of working. It was a long time before the term Agile was born, and it worked very well. We developed basically the complete new ground-based radar system within 5 years that have took them 15 years or before to get the same level of features. It was done in that one, and there it worked. It was we did all the things that people said that we shouldn't do. You changed programming language, operating systems, communication technologies, commercial hardware, and went to the object-oriented mindset with this and stuff. And I have a feeling that what is because of that change of way of working worked. And now when I'm sitting here at Volvo Trucks, it's the size of the system and a totally different situations. We sometimes utilizing the terms agiles, but I wouldn't say that we are even near to that kind of agility that has been in these months, and simply doesn't fly in our types of industry right now. And I cannot really understand why, or I can partly. It's a lot of things. I mean, getting that you mentioned here, to getting self-going teams needs that the system itself needs to be built for having self-going teams. Otherwise, it's impossible to do that one. And building this kind of, I mean, actually a vehicle is a rather complex machine. And it's a lot of things that needs to work together. And there is something in this one that isn't really flying. So scaling or is not really flying. So to see here what others, my interest here is actually to see what other kind of experiences has on this topic. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. The next person would be Magnus Rindeberg.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is great. My name is Magnus Rindeberg. I'm working at Volvo Autonomous Solutions in Göteborg. I'm the team lead for the perception software team. I'm not really here in that capacity. I'm here because I'm really interested in software design issues. I've been for a very long time, in my entire career actually. And that kind of encompasses everything related to software development, from design and architecture and processes, but also the people. I think that Agile, which is to me more of a culture than a process, is by far the best way that I know personally that we can develop software. And just the assumption that we allow knowledge to grow over time, that we realize that we don't know everything when we start out. Agility to me is that we invest in the ability to react to new information. And as long as we do that, we will build the best software in the shortest available time. So I was really interested in this beyond agile theme in this session. I'm not going to, yeah, so that's it. Thank you.
Great. Lena, would you like to go next?
Yeah, great. Hi, Lena. I run my own business and I work as an interim manager and change manager. And Jan, the reason I'm here is because I agree 100% with you, Jan, on what you wrote on specifically, you know, having more hypothesis and the customer doesn't really know what they actually want. And to try to work with hypothesis and then just test it and to see what actually works and have a more data-driven decision making on that as well. So I'm very curious about that. And I worked in a company as a consultant, worked in a company that ran a lot of tests and had working always with hypothesis. So I think that worked very well. And yeah, so I'm really interested. Although I wouldn't say that, or yeah, you had like old times and then agile with a capital A, and then I think you said new paradigm or something.
Yeah, something like that, yes.
Yeah, and I would agree if you have the capital A for agile and this is agile, but if you want to say we want to be more agile as the word agile, what it actually means, then I don't think it's a new paradigm. It's just like the next step that we have taken our first baby steps with Scrum and yeah, whatever. And now we are ready to take the next step, I think, in agility or yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my thinking.
Very good. Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much for sharing. Arjen Verwey, are you the second Dutch person in this call?
I don't know, but I am Dutch.
Oh, then we are 3 Dutchies in this call, so quite amazing. I'm impressed.
I'm a software engineering manager at Siemens. We make a simulator for self-driving technology, ADAS, AV. We make sensors, we do path planning, this type of stuff. And because this type of software development doesn't fit neatly in the information system space, where typically people can take over each other's tasks quite easily. I'm always looking for ways to have teams work together in a way that is inviting and fun and hopefully also leads to customer value. Yeah, I was triggered by the LinkedIn post, so that's why I'm here.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Arjen. Tommy, you want to go next?
Sure thing. Hi, everyone.
Oh, we lost your audio. Try again.
Now?
Yeah, better, I think.
Okay, perfect. My name is Tommy. I'm running a company called Phoenix Flow, which primarily then focus for the software machinery, might be a bad word here, but basically making life easier for all software developers out there. Yeah, I've been part of what we would call Agile now then for 16 years approximately. I loved it in the beginning until I realized that, at least I think, people misinterpret things. So I would agree with Lena. I would like to see people not exaggerating things, not giving up too easy, and just trying things out before we totally scrutinize and say, fuck Agile or remove safe, it doesn't work. Try it, you like it. But however, I do believe that we need to talk about it differently. We need to act differently than we have done before. So I'm all ears and eager to take active part in this dialogue going forward.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tommy. Andrea, you want to go next?
Yes, Andrea Gage. I work at Västra Götalandsregion. For not Swedish people here, it's like a region of Western Sweden, and we are taking care of all the public services in this part of Sweden, like healthcare, public buildings, and so on. I work there as a digital innovation strategist, but I also work as a researcher at the University of Gothenburg at the IT faculty. And I'm looking closer to the institutional entrepreneurship. So I'm today looking at this topic through the lens of institutional entrepreneurship. I'm very interested in why did we exist in the past? Why do we exist now? Why should we exist in the future? What should we do? What should be different than we done before? It's also important to see that in institutional entrepreneurship, almost all decisions are infected by politics, and there's almost nothing that's past politics. So yeah, so that's how I see today's presentations through that kind of paradigm. And yeah, of course, I'm also personally very interested in this kind of topics. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Very good. Thank you very much. Rikard, do you want to go next?
Thank you.
Sure thing. Hi, Jan. So my name is Richard, and I've been working for, I just calculated, about 20 years in change management, primarily in digitalization and agilization, but also to create innovative organizations. And I've been noticing a pattern over the years, and that is that it is so easy to present a message, a new tool, a philosophy, but it's so difficult to really adopt it the right way things should be done. And I think that most of the times I see companies, and it's basically global enterprises, sometimes incumbents, that fail in implementing agile procedures is because they're too focused on the procedures. And as previous speaker said, this is more of a philosophy or way of reasoning, or maybe a cultural thing. And I agree that that is true, but I also quite open to the fact that industry needs more than a philosophy in order to change. They need hands-on tools. They need processes to guide them in the transition, at least, maybe in the everyday uses as well. But we are trying to steer away from process-driven, so we leave them with nothing but this philosophy. And I think there's a lot of things, reasons for that. That is why we fail. But having said that, I think that a lot of companies need to do their homework a little bit better. They're trying to, if I do an analogy, I say they're trying to write apps and install them, but they don't have an operating system. They are trying to have agile development, but they don't have an agile organization. There's a missing link here. Some people call it business agility or organizational agility. And I think that this is not just a different aspect of things, but there's an order to this. You have to lay the foundation, and then you're ready, you have done your homework, and then you're ready to move on. This is why I'm interested in looking at what went wrong in practice with the current agile movement. But I agree so much with you, Jan. We shouldn't stop there and fix the things that are, from the previous plans and doing what Agile does when it works the best, catching up and following the changes. But we should aim further and look at predicting change, predicting customer behavior and so on. Or why not even more, to drive customer interest, to generate new interest. And why do I say that? Well, I believe there's one of the missing links in the agile transition to make companies really collect business value is that we have not showed how to integrate this with innovation capability. If you do that, you will not only predict, but you will also drive the interest of customers, and you will always have something that will home you in on the business value of things. This is my take on this, but let's see what I can bring us by the end of the day or this discussion.
Thank you, Rikard. I must say that in several contexts, I've often mentioned that you have to make your kids want what you're getting them for Christmas. Is one of the things that many companies have not yet figured out. But that's maybe something we have to spend some time discussing as well.
Especially if you can't find the toy that you were looking for, then you have to make them like the one you did find.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to go all the way to the southern part of Europe. Theodora, you've worked with Agile for a few years as well, so maybe you want to share your thoughts.
Yeah, Yeah, you know, I agree with you because we are
You need
trying
to introduce yourself to
invent.
the others first, so
Yes.
that you are.
Sorry, my name is Teodora, 20 years in software development. Last 7 years, I'm an agile coach and trainer in different companies, and currently PhD student candidate. And Jan and I are trying to invent the next thing after the agile. So for me, agile is actually not so fast as the current trend of technologies, and the one very big problem is actually individuals and interactions, because a lot of decisions are taken subjectively. More senior people have take the decisions and things like that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Theodora. Ula from Equify, do you want to be the next one?
Yes, thank you. So my name is Ula. I'm a consultant at Neckify, and we are focusing on being agile coaches and scrum masters in hardware, but also in software companies. And I agree with a lot of what is said here. It's I also think that Scrum is maybe the best framework so far for approaching these complex challenges. But I mean, you need to have the foundations right, both in the architecture and the technology, and in the organization. And different organizations are on different maturity levels, and are there is a difference in how receptible you are to different practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Ola. Kevin, you want to go next?
Definitely. My name is Kevin Anderson. I'm actually the fourth person from the Netherlands here on this call. So hello, everyone. I'm a product manager for experimentation at Vista, formerly known as Vista Print, a company that helps small businesses with design and marketing services. So we print everything from business cards to digital design, so all kinds of things. Before that, I spent over a decade at ING, Dutch bank, where I was involved in a major agile transformation, which was really interesting. So that started, I think, even 7, maybe 8 years ago. So I experienced this major org change from close by. But what is also very interesting, I also observed some things that were pushing back against agile, right? So it wasn't just a rosy story from the start. Also researching challenges around adoption of experimentation. So that's why I've been following your work, for example. And one of the main things is, I think, is organizational design. So how do we structure the org? What kind of teams do work together? But especially, how do we resource the teams, right? So I think having cross-functional teams is very important, and that's probably often overlooked.
Yeah.
So yeah, why here? I'm just curious to discover what's next in Agile and way of working.
Yeah, so am I. That's why I'm here too, and I set up this whole thing. So thank you very much for the introduction. Arno is on my list, but did you have a chance to talk already?
Yes,
Arno?
let me check if I...
Go ahead.
Do you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm
we
not sure
can
why
hear
my
you.
camera's not working, but I'm from ProDrive, also from the Netherlands, from ProDrive Technologies in the Eindhoven region, and we develop electronics and produce electronics. And since a year now, I'm now working at the ProDrive business software, which makes basically the software that makes the factory does run. And last decade, there are more than 100 applications built. And I recognize that all the work is going to the community part of the features, let's say, and maintaining and keep everything up and running is quite an effort. So we also gonna start measuring usage and we're interesting on how to use that to do the next step with this data and to even make more efficient implementations, such that we have more time available for introducing new features and functionality. So that's why I was interested.
Very good, Arno. Thank you very much for sharing. I have, I think, two people left. Udayanto is, I think, from Finland.
Yeah, hello. I hope my voice is audible. Yeah, so my name is Udayanto Atmojo. I work at Aalto University. This is we're a university located in the Helsinki in Finland. I've been working at Aalto for almost 6 years now. My background is computer systems engineering. So part of my, well, this topic of systems engineering, life cycle model of systems is of course like a core interest of mine. I'm teaching a course with like, let's say 50 master students in embedded systems development course. So I touch a lot about the system engineering, from requirements engineering, touching upon the lifecycle model. And of course, there Agile is also mentioned there. It's an interesting principles, but I mean, when I observe personally in the pure software system sector, Agile is kind of way ahead. But then when I'm talking about, let's say, embedded systems or those systems that are more safety critical, it seems that the adoption is a bit behind. So for me, like, I'm interested to hear like different experiences from all of the people here, practitioners, and what is your experience in these different life cycle models, Agile, and what are the good takeaways? So it's a good place to share experiences here. So that's also why I'm here. Thank you very much for the time.
Very good. Thank you very much, Adianta. And then last, but definitely not least, and I'm sorry, Helena, I let you go last, but you and I work so much together that it's almost embarrassing to let you go too early. So Helena, maybe you introduce yourself, share your views on Agile, and maybe give a few reflections on everything you've heard over the last half an hour or so.
So thank you very much. This is super interesting. And hi, everyone. I am a computer science professor from Malmö and indeed a colleague of Jan since many, many years. I also see many familiar faces in this call. I'm sorry I don't have a camera today, but I hope to see you maybe in future meetings. And I think if I start with my own interests and maybe where I see I would be interested in taking the discussion, to me, I think it is, I mean, the context of Agile has completely changed. And the principles, to me, they work. I think they always will. But the context of systems development, as also reflected on by many people already, look completely different to if we compare with a few decades ago. So it's not really the principles themselves to me, but it is much more we still haven't really solved how to translate them into large-scale systems development with complexities and dependencies, and also very many new technologies that actually weren't that much around a few decades ago. So we have completely new opportunities as well. But the large-scale factor is, for me, something that we have not yet addressed really well. I think, we get lost in ways of working rather than hands-on support for how to deliver value in this large-scale context. And so I see also of the things I mentioned here, maybe two key problems. As I said, I think it is too much process. I think it is too much how to organize, too much ways of working, rather than what is really the outcome and the value we seek to deliver. And then also, all the mechanisms that are typically used are very much on internal efficiency improvements, maybe a little less on external, you could say, effectiveness or outcome or value delivery. So those ones. And always when I talk about Agile, we have this beautiful quote from one of the software center companies saying, we are all Agile, just one tiny little detail missing. We never meet the customer because they have no direct customer contact. And then again, you realize that this large scale context is not well yet well suited for the principles that we have in mind. So I would like to, that is my reflection on the current principles, where we are and where I see we should focus our ideas going forward, the large scale context and everything that it comes with.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Helena. So I think you all realize that with 17 people in the call and giving everyone a minute or two to introduce themselves, we're basically starting to run out of time already. At least one of us, Anders, used the time well by putting chats in the, or messages in the chat for everyone to look at. I have a few reflections that I wanted to share, and then I think we're just going to dive into what are we going to do next. The first reflection that I have is that someone or some people brought up the difference between Agile with a capital A and Agile with a small a. Yeah, and Agile with a capital A is the formalized methods and the formalized ways, specific ways of doing Agile. Agile with a small a is a set of principles, if you want, around teams, sprints, retrospectives, and those kind of things, a set of Agile practices. And to be honest, I don't think that the principles that we are talking about around fast feedback loops, cross-functional teams, retrospectives, and those kind of things, that those are being questioned by anyone in the meeting. Maybe I'm wrong, and in that sense, please, if that's the case, then please let me know. It's, I think, the Agile with a big A, yeah, that this is the way to build software. I think that that's where at least I am starting to have some severe questions, because if I look at how we build software, I literally believe that anyone who is in this meeting and from a company, 50% of all your R&D effort is waste. You just don't know which half, because we do not have the tools and mechanisms to figure out what to do about it, or how to measure what actually adds value and what doesn't add value. So that's the first one. The second question, and now I'm going to go out on a limb, and is if I listen to the stories of Volvo and Saab, and for those of you that are not aware of this, we've been working with these companies since 2011, at least I have. Helena has been working with them even longer. I'm actually wondering if Agile fits the reality that these companies are experiencing, or if you need something else. And if you need something else, and I'm actually looking at Anders and Hannah right now, I'm trying to reason through, what does this actually mean? What does it mean to be Agile for you? What would you benefit from? Because Agile is not a goal in itself. It is a means to an end. It is a means to deliver business value to your customers in the best way possible, with the highest effectiveness as possible. So that's a question that I do not have an answer for. I mean, to be honest, and Hannah and Anders know this, Helena and I defined something called the Stairway to Heaven in 2012, yeah, which is basically an evolution model of how companies evolve. And, you know, I've been shouting from the rooftops, you know, Agile is the way to go, Agile is the way to go, to all these embedded systems companies. And I'm starting to wonder if it is actually the right answer or not. Yeah, so that's the second reflection that I have. Third reflection, scaling. Helena brought this up. I think it was a super relevant point. Almost every company we work with does Agile at the team level. Very few companies do Agile above the team level, at the department level, at the system level, all the way to customers level. So we are not getting our act together in the loop and the feedback loop all the way to customers. Yeah, I think that that's still a huge unsolved challenge. And I lived in the US for several years. And one of the beautiful sayings in the US is, if you're riding a dead horse, get off. I've now been trying for the better part of a decade to get the large embedded systems companies in Software Center to bring Agile to the end-to-end world, where their customers get products that get better every day use. We use them. And we're still not there. And is that because we haven't tried hard enough, which I've heard some people say? Or is that because there is a fundamental mismatch between the paradigm we're trying to instill and the industrial reality that people like Anders and Hanna and others in this call are actually dealing with.
Perhaps it can be so that the business models for the real customers are different than it has for an app developer. That I think, I mean, if you're buying like a vehicle, I mean, I don't know what they actually cost. It's so, say that you like pay 3-4 millions or something for doing some work for them. There are some economical aspect because they can do that as an investments, and then they can deal with that during their budget and other things in a good way. So I mean, your models that you normally talk about, that getting the investment and it's getting lower. I mean, a truck basically lives 10 years, then it's scrapping.
Yeah.
So it can be so that it doesn't need to be continuously updated.
Yeah. And
because their business doesn't change that fast as well.
Yeah. And this is where I think also Hanna is running into that. Hanna wants, but her customers don't want. At least that is my perception. The problem is that what I'm seeing is that in the defense space, companies like Agile, Helsing, and others are building reality, what we are trying to accomplish within the large companies. And if I look at Tesla trucks and others, I do see some of the things that we're talking about. So I'm not quite ready to give it up yet, but I do fully agree on this, that we need to align with the business reality of our customers, because, you know, otherwise it will never work.
Exactly. I mean, you talked about Saab as well, as I've been there before as well, in the beginning of 90s there. I mean, it suited that business because here at that time, it was like the Försvarets materielverk in Sweden. They didn't know
what they wanted.
They had a good idea. They wanted to have something better. And then it's the evolutionary approach was fitted very well there.
Yeah.
So,
but how did you get the business model in place, Anders? Because this is where it often gets tricky, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But at that time it suited, but it still was, but it fitted that one, even if it was fixed price, if I remember right. So, and yeah. And it was also a lot of learnings. That was another reasons why we applied that one at that time. I really would like to talk about that one with the Saab guys, if they have continued on that journey or not. But that's another issue.
I think also our world is changing, Anders.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And customers they are aware that they need to improve continuously, and as threats are evolving, that needs to go faster. So it's just a little bit slower, but it's changing, and we need to meet that.
Before I let Rikard, if you take 30 seconds, then I will share my fourth reflection.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I've been working for Ericsson and Saab as well, but it doesn't matter. The one thing in common is that everybody wants Agile to go faster and faster and be more and more tracking towards the goal, even if the goal is moving. But the goal definition, I think, is too unambitious. The goal definition of Agile in most development companies, hardware and software, is normally the solution. This is the solution you're supposed to realize, develop, implement. And if it slightly changes, you should be able to follow it. But especially the pathway towards that should be able. But it's not the goal and the solution that the market cares about. It's the value that the customer wants. That is what we should track, and that is what's changing. And I tried that in one organization, but there was a missing link. If you track a different value of a customer, that had no idea how to change and update the goal for a new solution. And they looked to the guys and the girls in the innovation department and said, can you devise and design and come up with a new solution? Then we can track it. So that's why I'm saying that there's a missing link in there, because the world is changing with respect to customer needs and customer wants. And they are expressed as new innovations of changed and updated solutions, and the current Agile world doesn't have the capability to track that.
I have sorry if I interrupt again.
Yes.
I have another killing things that I think is killing all this stuff. That is called the term requirements. Because requirement is hell. Because you're writing, we have like 30 to 40,000 elements of requirements, and they're always wrong. It's something wrong in that whole thinking, and it's linked to this basically you don't need to have that one to get people to develop things.
That's a really interesting one, and I know that Hanna is not a big fan of requirements either. Actually, I'm not joking, but I know that also our radar system has a couple of requirements to handle. So requirements versus desired outcome or something like that is one of the themes. The fourth theme that I wanted to raise, and then we really need to start wrap things up because I only asked for an hour of all of your time. Since the introduction of the Agile in 2001, the Agile Manifesto, the amount of data available, the amount of machine learning and deep learning solutions available, so AI in general, and the ability to have fast feedback loops to products in the field is so much more elaborate than what we had at that point, that I think we need to find a way to integrate that. And I think that Lena brought this up with her A/B experimentation and hypothesis testing approaches. I think that many companies would benefit really from having that mindset to an extent that is much more elaborate than what we've seen in the past so far. 4 minutes. And what I'm trying to figure out is how do we do this next?
That's a good question.
I have one suggestion. Let's at least condense why we want to introduce a new paradigm. What is the purpose of that? What are the opportunities we think will open for that, and what are the problems are we closing by that? So at least, what is the ambition of our effort, and what do we expect of the outcome?
Good. Because that's what I tried to do in the opening presentation, but maybe not everyone was agreeing with that, or maybe even listening to it because maybe they were too busy preparing their own introduction. That might well be. I do think you're spot on. The intent of today's meeting was to get clear on the challenges and limitations of Agile, but we didn't get super far on that. So my feeling is we need at least one more discussion for people that are interested in what are the limitations of Agile.
Yes.
I think that's one that we have to do. So that's one session. The second one that I would like to have is one where we discuss, does it fit everywhere? Does Agile make sense for a company like Volvo, or for a company like Saab, or for a company like some of the large Dutch players, or for you, Västra Götaland region, or is it just not working? So that would be one. Two, I would like to have a chat around scaling. How do we scale Agile, which I see fall flat almost everywhere? And I would definitely like to have a chat around requirements versus desired outcome. Yeah, because I think that Anders is spot on to something. I've said that requirements are the root of all evil in certain presentations, which is not necessarily very popular. But that whole notion of the ability to specify a complete system that then needs to be built for a long period after that is, I think, a completely unrealistic way of working for large complex systems. That's at least where I'm coming from, but I'd love to discuss that. So those are at least 4 things that I want to have. My request to all of you is, please send me an email after this with the key thing that you would like to get as a next step out of this. Yeah, and then I'll combine all of that. I plan some sessions. I introduce it to all of you. I do it through the newsletter that I have on my personal webpage. And then you guys can decide if you want to sit in or not. And guys in the non-gender specific form, because I think gals sound so stupid. Yeah, you people. That would be the thing. So you all type me one email on 1 or 2 things that you really would like to discuss going forward. I communicate the sessions. Yeah, what's going to happen next? And I'm happily to take a meeting one-on-one with each of you as well, if that's what you find interesting, if you want to have some follow-up conversations. But that's my current plan. Is that okay? Now we have 1 minute left. Everyone gets 5 seconds to share one thing they liked and one thing they wished for. after this. So Anders, you go first. One thing you liked, one thing you wished for.
I think it's really good that you're starting up this one, that discussion. And I think there needs to be a continuation on discussion. I think we need to penetrate a little bit more on the problems.
Couldn't agree more. David?
I need to leave, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's okay. David, one thing you liked, one thing you wished for?
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. Really great to hear all different stories and perspectives and backgrounds. Wishful, I'm really interested in the scaling topic. I think that'll be great.
Very good. Magnus? Rindeberg?
Yeah, thanks. I think this is great. I'm also extremely surprised and happy about the quality of the participants.
Good.
Nice discussions.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Andrea, 10 seconds or less.
Provoking the discussions and provoking the thoughts was the best. I didn't have any special expectations, so I'm not disappointed at all. And I don't know, I am looking forward to the next step. I'll think about that and get back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Arjen?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how Agile is used in different companies and how people can make it work, but also how it hinders them. And I think there will be some deep learning done there.
Excellent. Thank you. Arno?
Yeah, instinct trigger to think about improvements and the future paradigms. Yeah, thanks.
Good. Hannah?
Well, good thing to have some more time to think about this until the next meeting. Of course, 1 hour is never enough, so I guess that's the downside.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Hannah. Lena?
I would just agree with everybody else.
That's the fastest way of getting through this meeting. Magnus? Oh, you had already a chance to say something, or?
I did.
Okay. Ola?
I agree. Good reflections. I think it were a lot of qualified comments, and we have some shared challenges for sure. Thanks.
Ricard?
Yeah, I think maybe the coffee and the cookies were the best. No, seriously, I think that taking the first step to actually challenge and daring to look beyond Agile. Agile is not necessarily the last suit you'll ever wear.
No. Thank you, Ricard. Theodora?
Yeah, I really like the different perspectives, and I'd like more time next time. Yeah.
I know. Time is always the issue. Tommy?
No, then I would agree with Lena then.
Okay, good. Adianta?
Yeah, thanks. Very interesting and looking forward for the future discussions.
Very good. Helena, last but not least, and then we're going to wrap this up.
I think it was really interesting and really good. I mean, we evolved, companies evolved, technologies evolved. So I think it's a timely discussion.
Wonderful. Now, with that, my friends, we have agreed on next steps. Please send me the email. I will communicate about follow-up sessions, and I look forward to wrestling this one to the ground once and for all, even if it's not the last suit we'll ever wear, as Ricard so eloquently said. Thank you all very much. Have a great day, and sorry for going 3 minutes over time. I hope you can forgive me. Yeah.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Your day.